Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Wrestling Show. Tonight, so far with us, we have, as always, the co-host of the show, the Kingpin himself. How are you, Night?
Evening, everybody.
And also jumping in tonight, we have Mr. Buck Stanley, also known as Tactical Fud. Used to be a gun loving grandpa, but he stopped being a gun lover and just became a Fud. So, how are you, Night Buck?
I'm doing all right. How's everybody doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. So, how's your days been?
Mine's been pretty damn icy. Well, it's finally starting to melt now, though.
Yeah, it's cooled off after a couple of warmish days. It's everything's freezing back up from where it melted. About the same in your area, Kingpin? I guess we lost Kingpin, at least temporarily.
He's this shy.
If there's one thing Kingpin isn't, it's shy, except for turning his camera on. On himself, that is. Except his hands. You will see videos on his channel where you see his hands. But that's beside the point. So, yeah. Wow, this chat's going good so far. But yeah, the big news in wrestling this week comes out of WWE. Oh, we got NKJo's out there in the YouTube chat. Yeah, he's probably the one viewer we can usually count on to be out there. So, evening, sir. Yeah, big news on WWE. Vince fired his own son. Nobody saw that one coming. But apparently, he was a major douchebag the night of the Royal Rumble. And to the point where even Vince couldn't deal with him. And gave him the old heave ho on Monday. Or was it Sunday? Sunday or Monday? But, yeah, apparently he wanted to book the entire Royal Rumble around himself because Vince was letting him do some of the booking for the Rumble. And then he was throwing staff members under the bus and all kinds of crazy, insane stuff backstage, which was leading to conflict with various backstage producers and some of the wrestlers themselves. And let's just put it mildly, didn't say that nobody was happy that he was there.
I wonder what got into him.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. Honestly, I mean, Shane never had that kind of reputation before. This is like the first time something like this that I can remember has been reported in regards to Shane. It's like he got too big for his britches all of a sudden. I don't know how else to put it, but he thought he should have won the Rumble, and he tried looking himself to where he was going to win the Rumble, and his dad had to countermand him on that one. There was a whole big kerfuffle going on with Shane's return. Oh no, he was fired. He was absolutely fired. Everybody in the company has stated that has been talked to that Vince was absolutely pissed off and Shane was absolutely fired.
Maybe
And
he's going to jump ship.
yeah, there have been people in WWE that still talk to people that were in AEW and they told them don't hire him. They flat out are telling the AEW people don't hire Shane, it'll be detrimental to your company. Then they're not saying it to trick them into not hiring Shane. These are people that are generally trustworthy types of people that are saying no, you do not want to hire him.
Yeah, he kind of looks like a loose cannon right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, he apparently went completely and totally rogue. To put it in another term, but
Maybe he thinks he got enough smarts now where he can start his own wrestling thing up.
yeah, good luck with that. I mean, it takes a lot of money to do that, and I don't know if Shane has enough money to do that. And the only thing I could see maybe would be if he knows something in regards to Triple H's future, and the two of them attempt to go hand in hand and maybe acquire Ring of Honor or go to work for Ring of Honor, something along those lines. But him actually outright buying a promotion, I don't think Shane has the monetary means to do that. He's not his dad. His dad has all the money. And Shane sold off all his stocks in WWE and stuff years ago. He wasn't. Stephanie is still a major stockholder, not as big a stockholder as her father. Nobody is. Vince owns the vast majority of the stock in the company. But Stephanie isn't just an employee. She owns stock. She's a major stockholder in the company. Triple H isn't just an employee. He owns major stock in the company. Shane was just an employee. He had no more stock in the company whatsoever. So for him to think that what the reports are coming out of WWE from verifiable sources, trustworthy sources, the way he was acting when he doesn't have that to fall back on, it's just mind-boggling. I mean, honest to God, he was just another talent in the company. What made him think he could pull off this stuff because his last name's McMahon is, I don't know. Yeah, no idea what was going on in his head that night.
Have you
Maybe
ever
him and
worked?
his other two buddies are going to start a wrestling group. Them guys from up in Connecticut, wherever the hell they were from.
The
His
Mean Street
posse.
Mafia, the Mean Street Mafia posse, whatever it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What were you going to say, Kingpin?
You ever worked at a company where the boss's son worked with you and he sucked real bad that you had to deal with it?
Yeah, I'm doing that now.
That's I'm just saying that could be why Shane thinks that I can do what I want because my daddy runs the company. And I guess he was wrong.
Yeah, he's
But
dead wrong.
so Vince McMahon's 100 years old. What happens when he dies? Where's is he like pro Stephanie and he's going to leave everything to her, or what's your speculation on what he's going to do with his will?
I still think the company's for sale, and they're just not publicly announcing it. They've had there is a, according to reports and everything that come out, there is a backstage bidding war mainly between NBC and Disney. So that's what we're waiting to see. And that would line up with all these so-called budget cuts and everything, where they're streamlining the roster and they're streamlining the office personnel and everything. It just has all the earmarks of a business that's preparing to sell, and they're trying to make it more appealing to whoever is in the running to buy. And it would just make sense for either Disney or NBC to be the ones that buy, because WWE does have major contracts with both of those companies. Disney owns Fox Entertainment, which broadcasts SmackDown. NBC Universal, which is owned by Comcast, owns USA Network, which is where both Raw and SmackDown are broadcast, as well as or not Raw and SmackDown, Raw and NXT are broadcast. WWE just signed a major deal in Southeast Asia for them to carry the WWE network on Disney Plus over there. Kind of like how Peacock has the network programming here in the United States and Canada. So it just makes sense if WWE is for sale to be one of those two companies, and that could be where Vince is looking. It could be why Triple H seems to be on the outs right now, because Triple H has basically lost all his power in the company since he had his cardiac incident. He's not in charge of anything currently, and he's not back to work yet either.
If I'm buying your company, I'm firing all your employees, all of them. I'm not going to buy the WWE and keep Triple H around because he's Triple H. You're fired. Get out. I'll bring in my own guys and I'll rebuild this company. If Triple H was doing the right thing, the company wouldn't have been for sale. You're fired. Get
Well,
out.
well, here's the thing: Triple H was running NXT when NXT was popular. Since
I mean,
Triple
I'm
H
just,
has
I don't
been
know that.
removed from control of NXT, the ratings have plummeted.
Well, I don't know the details. Like, I'm talking like
Yeah,
from somebody who's not as detail oriented. You know those kind of details. I'm just kind of, but that's my thoughts. Plus, Triple H, all the old wrestlers that are still around that are 100 years old and getting wheelchaired down to the ring, you're all fired. You're all fired. You had a great one, Ric Flair. Thanks for coming. Here's your trophy. Here's your gold watch. Get out. They've got to start. They've got to start over, basically. And I know how dangerous that sounds. How do you take a WWE and fire everybody and start over? That's really really risky. But I think that's the only thing that's gonna turn the company around is, and you can't have Sting as your main event. That guy's 70 years old.
well, Sting's in AEW.
I don't know who's old in WWE right now.
Yeah, but the thing is, Sting can still go. You got old guys that are broke down, falling apart, and then you got old guys like Sting. So, I mean,
All right, you want to put Brett Favre as your starting quarterback for the Super Bowl, or do you want to start that kid that's playing for one of the other teams?
well, here's the thing: you're not putting Sting in the main event of a pay per view, but in the mid card, Sting is perfectly capable of being there just in helping boost ratings.
Yeah, and I don't knock that part. Having being able to put on your advertisement, Sting returns to the ring or Sting something. That's going to draw people's attention. It's interesting. There's Sting fans out there. Then there's people like me who are like, let's see what this old guy can still do. And so there's a variety of different reasons why Sting or an older wrestler would still draw attention. But you got to start over, just like any other sports team.
Oh
It's
yeah,
great that you got all these Hall of Famers on your team and you guys just won the Super Bowl, but we got the rest of history to plan this team around.
yeah. Well, to your point, this is what's making it interesting to see what happens with Ring of Honor because Ring of Honor did exactly what you just said. They fired everybody and they're trying to reorganize the company and they're hoping to be back in April. If they don't meet that deadline, Ring of Honor is dead.
So, does Ring of Honor, who are there like superstars that wrestling fans would be like, oh man, there's that person?
Anybody that has been cast off from WWE could go over to Ring of Honor. There are lots of big names that WWE has cast off recently, like Braun Strowman, for example, and Bray Wyatt, and there's a bunch of other people too. I mean, there's the list is long, and Ring of Honor with Ring of Honor, you may see AEW and Impact guys go over there if they have with because of the Forbidden Door situation right now with New Japan, Impact, AEW. Ring of Honor would be involved in that because there's already Ring of Honor guys who right now aren't signed to Ring of Honor, but they're wrestling in Impact and AEW.
Also, I mean, back to the business sense of it, the AEW, Ring of Honor, TNT, all these other WWE even aren't the New York Yankees, aren't the Boston Red Sox, aren't the Dodgers. A giant uh, free agent pool sounds like a good idea, but Braun Strowman's going to come with a pretty heavy salary, even for a guy who doesn't have a job. He's not going to work for free. And if you hire 50 of these top stars, where are you going to get the money to pay these people? Daniel, my God, as my judges out there. Good to see you, sir.
Well, that's where the thing with AEW comes in. They have a guy at the helm of that who has more money than Vince McMahon does, and then Impact is owned by Anthem Sports, which is a multi-billion-dollar company. So they actually have where they can meet the payroll. Ring of Honor is owned by Sinclair Media Group, which has various television shows and newspapers and stuff around the country. They have a large amount of money to take it, but and that's Ring of Honor's problem. Sinclair never wanted to invest in it, whereas Anthem,
Sinclair Broadcasting is full of a bunch of commies. Just make that
yeah,
quite
I'm well
clear.
aware of that, and they had why they were why they even bought Ring of Honor in the first place is something that a lot of people never understood because they never seemed to want to do anything with it. They were making whatever Ring of Honor was doing, they had to do off of what they could manage to scrape together as far as finances are concerned. The parent company was not giving them any assistance on it. Whereas if you look at AEW, the Khan family is heavily invested in what happens with AEW. Anthem Sports has been heavily involved with what's going on with Impact and everything, which is helping Impact recover from the debacle that was the Dixie Carter era of TNA.
I think they need to definitely invest in the foreign market because I mean, look at Japan. I mean, Japan, huge sports fan, baseball, crazy over there, wrestling, crazy over there.
It's
So,
hard to get a foothold in Japan.
well, I'm
WWE
just saying,
tried.
Japan it works so that you can use Japan,
Yeah.
especially as hard as it was to go to London, to go to France, to go to Nigeria, to go to Pakistan. Well, probably don't go to Pakistan.
Yeah, not Pakistan.
But I mean, the
Saudi Arabia better.
I was gonna say them and Qatar and all those kind of like oil nations that like pretend to be cool, but you know they're still commies. They're still gonna make your girls dress a certain way and wear the stupid headbands.
Hey, is Ring of Honor still a thing? Because I haven't seen them in a while.
It's still a thing, but they've let all their talent go because they're restructuring.
Because I know they used to come on TV just damn near every night, it seemed like. And there, I barely catch them. Any.
Yeah, you can still their YouTube page is still up. They're still posting stuff like old matches over on their YouTube page. But I don't think they're doing anything TV wise. If they are, it's probably on WGN, which is like Sinclair's version of TBS. But broadcast TV, I don't know if they're still doing anything on there or not. To be honest with you.
That's a dying market, anyway.
That depends on if you got a digital antenna or not. A lot of people get the digital antenna instead of cable, and they get a lot of channels that we get over cable, like MeTV and Antenna TV, Rewind TV. Those are all digital antenna services.
Yeah, I'm talking about like run of the mill. Turn your television on for the past 30 years of our
Mm-hmm.
lives. I guess that would be cable TV. I guess.
Well, cable or broadcast TV. Broadcast TV was the old get the bunny ears on your TV or have the outdoor antenna that if you were farther away from the stations themselves, you had the outdoor antenna. But that's basically what digital is now. The digital antennas are doing the same thing. But yeah, I mean, it's either that or cable or satellite dish, like Dish TV or Direct TV. I don't know if those big giant satellite dishes that you used to see in people's yards even work anymore. I don't know if those satellites are still even active. Hmm. Yeah, what the hell was I thinking? But yeah, Ring of Honor will definitely be a bellwether, I guess, would be the term for if they're able to reorganize in a way like what you were saying, and if, how successful it works, and if they are able to come back, they got a show scheduled for I think it's in April. They have a pay per view scheduled, but people are still speculating how well that's going to be able to be pulled off.
Right after the show, I want you to call Mr. Ring and Mr. Honor and tell them both, do not put the women as the pay-per-view headline. No women. No, none. Stop it. Put it.
Yeah, yeah. It never seems to work when the women are the main event.
Yeah, no, not at all. And don't have a long, drawn-out, boring women's match either. Have your two best chicks get in there and wrestle for 10 minutes and be done.
Yeah, getting yawns. Trying to think what else we had happen. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot. To be honest, it's been a slow week. That usually is what happens after a major pay per view, though. You know, because everything's got to be reset. Well, Goldberg made his return again for the umpteenth time. Speaking of old fogies, they, yeah, he returned last night on SmackDown, and of course they're setting him up right away to go into the title picture. Yeah, I think at the next Saudi show, which is going to be Elimination Chamber, they're going to have him taking on Roman Reigns for the Universal title. How many people actually think they're going to have Goldberg beat Reigns for the Universal title in Saudi Arabia?
I like Goldberg, but he needs to keep his ass out of the ring. Might get his leg broke or something.
Well, the last match he had with Bobby Lashley at the last Saudi show wasn't bad. It was actually pretty good. Now, the match with him and The Undertaker a couple years ago was absolute shit. The heat was so oppressive, and Goldberg ended up was concussed halfway through the match and refused to let the referee stop the match. That was total shit there. I don't get the whole Goldberg and bring him back and put him into the main title picture right away. It's almost like he spent his first 100 matches undefeated, and his last 100 matches, he's going to be winless. Like, yeah, are we really going to do this and destroy the guy's legacy? I mean, everybody thinks Goldberg. What's the first thing that comes to mind? An actual winning streak, unlike the Undertaker, who was only winning at a pay per view every year. Goldberg ripped off over 100 wins when he started his career. And then there was the finger poke of doom, which was the night after Goldberg lost, or the week after. I forget. But yeah, that whole nonsensical thing that happened, which didn't help WCW at the time one little bit. Nash won the title off of Goldberg with help from Scott Hall, but Nash was playing off like he didn't want Hall's help when Hall zapped Goldberg with the cattle prod. And then there was the finger poke of doom incident where the NWO, using Elizabeth, had Goldberg arrested on suspicion of rape, and then Elizabeth, under her police interrogation, questioning about what happened, completely screwed up the whole story, so they ended up letting Goldberg go. But he wasn't back in time, so Nash, who was supposed to defend against Goldberg in his rematch, ended up defending against Hogan, and we got the finger poking to him where Hogan just pokes Nash. Nash falls down, and Hogan pins him and wins the world title again. Total and complete bollocks, and didn't help WCW stay afloat by any means. There was a lot of backlash over that one. Back when the internet was still in its infancy. God, that was what, 98? I think it was 98. January of 98 even. So that was the follow up story from Starcade 97. Maybe it was the follow up from Starcade 98 and it was the beginning of 99. Anyway, it was towards the end of WCW when everything was starting to fall apart. But yeah, that's how Goldberg's streak ended. But yeah, he doesn't.
So WCW, you're talking about, them and like TWA or NWA or whatever it was, uh, falling apart. Was it because their run bad, or were they put out of business because they didn't put up a good enough product? Like, what do you think really caused them, or is it a bunch of drunken drug addicts that couldn't get in the ring every night?
Oh, WCW, there's a multitude of things going on. First, about the time WCW started falling apart was when Turner Broadcasting was sold to AOL Time Warner. And from reports, they wanted out of the wrestling business. Why they bought it in the first place, I don't know. Because they bought Turner Broadcasting and that was part of Turner Broadcasting. So why they even bothered, why they didn't try selling WCW sooner, nobody's been able to figure that out. Second, you had guys like Hogan and Hall and Nash and other guys who had the way their contracts were structured, they had the right to countermand anything that creative did regarding their contracts and stuff or their matches and whatnot. They had creative control, was what you would call it, to the point where if they didn't want to lose, they weren't going to lose. It didn't matter what the hell story that creative was trying to tell. And it was just one big. You hear Ric Flair's term. He said it was a clusterfuck backstage. Too many people had power. Too many people had control. Too many people had big salaries, and AOL Time Warner wanted out of the business. And Vince Russo, when they brought him in, was a complete disaster. They brought him in to work with Eric Bischoff, and Bischoff and him did not see eye to eye. Bischoff and him don't speak to this day. And we lost Kingpin. He went to the back room for whatever reason. He hit the wrong button. But anyway, there was just all this politics backstage. And again, AOL Time Warner wanting to get out of the business. It just wasn't a good time for the company. And the ratings started to suffer because the main event scene, the heavyweight scene, was like going total to garbage. The cruiserweight division was still gangbusters. That was the most popular segments that they did was the cruiserweight division, to the point where they had debuted a cruiserweight tag team title that WWF, when they bought WCW, decided to get rid of. And there was a guy that was just starting his career at that point who was a contender in the tag team division. You might know him. His name's AJ Styles. And one of the first guys that WWF cut when they bought WCW was AJ Styles. Talk about a blunder. That guy only became one of the best wrestlers on the planet.
Yeah, they just fired him because he was the young one.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, Vince wasn't on board with the whole cruiserweight thing. You know, if you look at what he was doing with the WWF light heavyweight division, the champion in that division was a insulting parody of Goldberg. He was their cruiserweight or light heavyweight division, which was the equivalent of WCW's cruiserweight division, was a joke. It was there to try and get laughs, even though they had some really good light heavyweights in that division. There was a couple of guys that they signed from Japan and some other guys that were just really good wrestlers and stuff, and that they could have had a really good light heavyweight division, but that wasn't Vince's thing. He wasn't into all that, so they never really went anywhere. Other than, like I said, their champion, who was not a good wrestler, who was a terrible wrestler, was a comedy parody of Goldberg. You had all these other guys that were out there having excellent wrestling matches in that division who Vince would not let become champion. So when he bought WCW, only a few of the cruiserweights stayed. The rest were all, you're out of here. And it's like a year later that he got rid of the WCW cruiserweight title.
Was you said that these people fired AJ Styles or something like that?
Yeah. Vince fired AJ Styles when he bought WCW.
So in WCW, was AJ Styles like the man or something like that, or was he new, or like what was the?
Yeah, he was just starting his career, but you could see he had the talent. He was him and his tag team partner were the number one contenders for the WCW Cruiserweight Tag Team Championship. I mean, you could see the talent that was there, and that AJ was going to be something. And because he was a cruiserweight, Vince tossed him to the side.
All right.
Yeah, you know, AJ's history. He's only been a world champion every place he's gone.
I think he won that just about much as Ric Flair has, hasn't he? Won a title. I mean,
No, no, nobody's won the world championship as much as Flair. If you actually sit and you count all the times that Flair actually won the world title, that they even counting the ones that they don't even acknowledge, Flair's got almost 30 world title reigns.
Yeah, but if you was that good, you wouldn't have lost.
Well, you got to remember a lot of those where he would lose the championship one night and win it right back the next night, just to make the top guy in the various territories look good, you know.
You're right, Buck. If you won the title 30 times, you must have lost it 29.
Well, since he's retired, if he's won it 30 times, he lost it 30 times.
Well, I mean, I didn't know if he just like bowed out gracefully as the champion.
No. The last championship Ric Flair held was actually the Intercontinental Championship in WWE. The one time he actually held it. And I think the only reason why they did that is so that Ric Flair could be a Grand Slam champion. Because he had been U.S. championship early he had the U.S. championship early in his career. Then, of course, he was the world champion in both in NWA, WCW, and WWF. And then him and Batista were the tag team champions in WWE. And before that, way back when, I forget who his tag team partner was in the 70s, they were the NWA tag team champions at one point. So Ric Flair, the only championship he needed to be a Grand Slam champion was the Intercontinental title, and they slapped that on him in the mid-2000s. He held that for a couple of months before he lost it. Now, Ric Flair has also said he will never go to work in WWE again.
Flair's lucky that he can go to the bathroom without leaking something.
Well, he was offered a position working backstage, and he told him no.
Yeah, I wouldn't be interested in having Ric Flair. I mean,
Well, the
I
guy
think
knows the business. They were going to put him backstage in a like producer kind of role,
I know,
where
but
he working with the younger guys and stuff. Not as an on-screen talent. He was
no,
going to be
I get
purely
that.
working like a management position.
Oh, I understand that, but I think even that, it's time to go, Rick. You're the greatest that's ever been. There's no argument. Hulk Hogan is not even close. Uh, but it's over, man. It's over. It's time for something different.
Well, the only reason why Flair came back to wrestling when he did, and he has said this before, is he needed the money because of the divorce he went through, where he filed for divorce against a wife that was beating him, and he took her, and she took him to the cleaners anyway.
Right now, Squib's head's exploding.
Yeah, his wife, literally, the if you see it, the filing, the divorce filing, and you know this, a guy that's got pride like Flair does to admit that his wife was hitting him, and he didn't want to hit her back. It's, he was worried that if he hit her back, he was going to go to jail. So he did. He never hit her back. He filed for divorce to end it, and she still took him to the cleaners in the divorce, even though he was the agreed, the party that was. Damn it, I can't think of the word. But
I'm gonna take a wild guess and say the word accustomed was thrown around a lot in that legal battle.
he was the one that was accosted, and yeah, he's the one. He's yeah.
Accosted, and accustomed. But I don't know how. I don't know if it still works that way. But I know a lot of dudes got fleeced for their girl cheating on them or whatever the deal is, and so
Mm-hmm.
they dumped him, and then the girl still got half his money because she was
Yep.
accustomed to that lifestyle.
Yep. It's
All
just how.
all I can do is quote somebody I know. She's got the gold mine, he got the shaft.
Yeah. Huh. It just shows how fucked up the divorce system is in this country. Even if you're the wrong party, if you got a dick between your legs, you're paying out the ass for whatever happens. And it doesn't matter if you're the person that's getting abused, you're still the one that's going to be on the hook for all the money. And Ric Flair is a perfect example of that. He said that's the one ex-wife that he doesn't talk to. He said he's got 3 or 4 ex-wives, and the other ones he's friendly with, and he still they talk and everything. They still get along. It's just there was what you would call an amicable divorce. None of those wives tried taking him for all he was worth and all this other stuff. The last that last one, that last divorce, he says the worst divorce he's had out of the others. It was completely unamicable. It was completely contentious, and she took him for over half of it, what of the money that he had made in the latter part of his career since they had been together. And it's why he had to go back to work and had to go and went over to TNA and was working for them with when him, Hogan, and Bischoff showed up over there when Dixie Carter was like grasping at straws on how to fix things after what Vince Russo did to the company then, to that company. Why anybody would even listen to Vince Russo at this point, or even if anybody would even contemplate hiring that guy, they need a psychological evaluation because he is toxic to the business. The only good run he had was during the Attitude Era. And if you look at WWE's Attitude Era, people are looking at it through rose tinted glasses because it wasn't that good.
That's what ruined wrestling.
Yeah.
It was cool at the time for Stone Cold to stand on top of a beer truck, chug a beer, and throw the can out into the stands. I don't think he did that, but everybody's mother grabbed their kid and said, "You ain't watching this no more. Get out of here." Nope. And when they started, having them super hot chicks rip each other's clothes off in the middle of the ring, suburban moms flipped out.
Yeah, the best thing about the Attitude Era was Stone Cold, The Rock, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels. Everything else was shit. If you
Oh
look at it,
man, come on there. Kurt Angle with the milk truck was pretty decent.
but that was more in the going into the ruthless aggression era. Yeah, that was towards the tail end of the Attitude Era and the ruthless aggression era. In the beginning of the ruthless aggression era, when that happened.
Now, I will say, for all the kids and the younger people and the squares that ran away when Stone Cold was being Stone Cold, a whole bunch of other people showed up because the guy was slinging beer on everybody.
Mm-hmm. You look at even like Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero and those guys when they showed up in WWE towards the end of the Attitude Era. They were not major stars in WWE at that point. They were not at the level they were in WCW before they left. It took them a couple years for them to establish themselves in WWE and be able to do anything. And the big thing that helped them finally, where they were starting to establish themselves, is when Jericho showed up. Jericho's first night in WWE or WWF at the time, when he left WCW, was showing up on Raw and cutting a promo on The Rock while The Rock was standing in the ring. Him and The Rock got into a promo battle Jericho's first night, and Jericho held his own against The Rock, which is saying something because The Rock is probably one of the best, if not the best talker in the business when you get him going. And Jericho, his first night in that company, held his own against the guy.
Well, The Rock is also extremely marketable. I mean, the dude, he's a good looking dude, super good shape, so the lifting the eyebrow when you're smelling what you're cooking, that was easy to make a poster out of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what you call charisma. The Rock's got it in droves.
Well, he's just, that's his personality, but he was born looking like that, so the girls are going to be like, "Hey, that dude's hot."
Just the way he carries himself, the way his ability to talk the way he does and everything. He just oozes charisma.
I remember Mick Foley had doing an interview with him, made his ass laugh up on stage,
Well,
up in the ring.
Mick Foley is a hilarious man.
Yeah,
Mick Foley, if he wasn't a wrestler, could have been one of the all-time greats in stand-up comedy. He really, really could. Have you ever seen any clips of Mick Foley when he would go around every so often doing like his book reading / stand-up comedy specials that he used to do? The
yeah.
man is fucking funny as hell.
I remember he asked The Rock a question, and The Rock getting ready to speak. He said, "It doesn't matter what you think."
Yeah, he pulled the Rock Chrome thing against
and,
him.
and the Rock just kind of stood back there, started smiling and laughing and shit.
He's like, okay, you got me. Yeah, I remember that. But, yeah, Foley's another guy. I mean, he didn't look like The Rock, but the guy could talk. He was good on the mic, and he would put his body through whatever the fuck it was asked of him to do. How many people you know that's going to jump off the top of a 20-foot tall steel cage?
Yeah, this is crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely crazy, and that's why people love him.
Hell, he was jumping off the top of his roof doing an audition to get into WWE or into wrestling. Him and his brother or something like that had the matches laying on the ground. They were jumping off the
yeah.
roof.
You look at his career, man. He was Cactus Jack in WCW, where he was a crazy person there. Then he went over to Japan and started doing the death match circuit over there, which is why he lost his ear. And then he went to ECW. Then he went back to WCW for a little bit, got cut by WCW, and went over to WWF, and the rest is history from there. But everywhere he's done the hardcore type matches, which is why they call him the hardcore legend. You know?
Yeah, I remember when he came out as Mankind.
Yeah, that was when he first went over to WWE. That was
Yeah.
the character they gave him.
Yeah, he was that for a while. He said, "Y'all gonna make me come back as Cactus Jack."
Yeah,
And then
then
after that, I think it was Dude Love or some
yeah, then it
shit.
was Dude Love. Yeah, that's when he started getting schizophrenic and couldn't remember what character he was from night to night,
Yeah.
which was hilarious. He'd come out as Dude Love, and then later on in the show, he'd come out as Mankind, and then later still, he'd come out as Cactus Jack. There was a Royal Rumble. He was eliminated 4 times in the Royal Rumble because he came out as Mankind, Dude Love, Cactus Jack, and himself. He holds the record for the most eliminations in a single Royal Rumble. They were talking about, remember what was it, the women's match where the one woman was thrown out twice, and they said, "Oh, that's gonna be a record." No, Mick Foley holds that record because he legitimately entered the Royal Rumble 4 times as just 4 different personas. That was right before he ended up having to retire from the ring due to injury.
I wonder if he is able to walk now
Yeah,
after all that shit he's been through. I
yeah,
know I couldn't.
yeah. Amazingly, yeah, he can walk. It's amazing that he could walk after that Hell in a Cell with the Undertaker.
Yeah, I remember that one. Whew.
He broke his hip in that match.
I saw him on an episode of Pawn Stars like a year ago, and he actually looked quite healthy and pretty decent shape. I mean, he's not like in shape, but
Yeah,
he's not as fat as he used to be.
yeah, he's lost a lot of weight, which isn't uncommon for guys when they get out of wrestling to lose weight. Like, if you look at Mark Henry now, when he's doing like what he's doing over in AEW, you can see he's lost weight. He's slimmed down.
Yeah, I watched on YouTube. There was a couple of wrestlers then and now, and half of them I couldn't even recognize now compared to what they look like when they, doing the wrestling thing.
Mm.
Totally different.
You know, AEW is supposed to debut a huge announcement on a wrestler that was signed on the next Dynamite on Wednesday, coming up on Wednesday night. Nobody knows who it is, but apparently it's somebody from one of the other companies because they're using the Forbidden Door thing with it. So it'll be interesting to see who that's going to be because there's a multitude of people it could be. You get a bunch of the non-complete Pete clauses just end from guys that were cut from WWE last week, that their non-competes expired last week, and you got other guys like over in Japan whose contracts are expiring. So it'd be interesting to see who that is. Oh, another interesting thing: Switchblade Jay White, the leader of the Bullet Club, the New Japan faction, on New Japan Strong last week, called out Adam Cole, who's signed to AEW. That was an interesting development to see that happen. Interesting to see if that goes anywhere. They didn't say anything about it on Rampage or Dynamite this week, so I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. And then Bullet Club also showed up on Impact. Jay White and Gorillas of Destiny both showed up on Impact this past week, or the last 2 weeks, I should say. There were some interesting developments there because they showed up at the pay per view. Because Impact had a pay per view last week or the weekend before. There's more stuff. I'm trying to remember. Impact has a pay per view coming up where they're going head to head with a WWE pay per view, and I forget which one it is. So I'm not going to comment on that right now. I thought that was interesting if they were doing that.
They ain't gonna do that thing like WWE and uh, or WWF and WCW where they wrestle each other, the war thing, war games or whatever.
No, War Games wasn't WCW versus WWE. That was just two different factions in WCW going against each other. Eric Bischoff challenged Vince McMahon to a match, and Vince never accepted. So
Oh, I
there
don't
was
like that
that.
little weasel, Eric Bischoff. Reminds me of a little fucking weasel.
Well, he was supposed to. He was a villain at that point.
Hmm.
That was during the height of the NWO thing and shit. You weren't supposed to like Bischoff.
Yeah, but I think every day Eric Bischoff was a pretty oily, greasy type of dude. I would imagine.
Well, he worked his ass off in the business. Eric Bischoff
So do
started out.
hookers and murderers.
Eric Bischoff started out in wrestling as the guy holding the microphone in AEW, or not AEW, AWA, interviewing the guys backstage. That's where he got his start.
So when do we find out if the story about Shane is going to be true? How long do you think that's going to take?
Oh no, I think that's already been established that what happened is what happened.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, everybody that's come out and said it, like I said, is people that are reliable and trustworthy and everything. And if the people that are saying that Vince fired him because Vince was extremely pissed off are the people that they're saying are the people saying it, then yeah, you can take it to the bank. That's exactly what happened.
So why do you think they're going to sell the company? Like, what do you think the media reason that they're going to give is, and then what do you think the real reason is?
For what? The firing of Shane, or
No, selling the company next year when they finally sell the company.
Vince just wanted out?
Yeah, but don't the kids want to take over for dad? Keep wrestling going?
Well, when Vince is the majority shareholder, it don't matter what anybody else wants. We see that all the time with that company.
So you don't think Vince cares to? Like I was talking about the will. You don't think he'll give Stephanie all them shares or whatever?
Stephanie's already got shares that he gave her. At one point, Vince was 100% shareholder of that company.
Well, when he's dead, Stephanie can be the 97% because
No,
she.
because he's going to sell all his shares are going to go to whoever buys the company.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that they. Yeah, true. I guess that, hey, Stephanie, I'm not going to give you any shares of this company. I'll just give you the $1 billion that I'm going to make for it when I die.
Oh, he's going to get more than $1 billion. They made over $1 billion last year. He's going to get more than $1 billion for the company. That's what got a lot of the people that don't understand how business actually runs are pissed off because they made all these roster cuts and office cuts and everything, and then they had the highest profits they've ever had. They don't understand. They don't get how economics works. Yeah, they're if the especially when they're reporting that he's trying to sell the company, and are saying that there's reports that the streamlining is because there's offers to sell the company and all this other stuff, and then they come back saying that they're all pissed off because they cut all these people when they had the highest profits of the year. It's like you can't have it both ways, people. Either they're trying to sell the company, and that's why all these people are getting cut to streamline the company to sell it, or you're gonna be or you get pissed off. You can't be pissed off about both things. It doesn't. That's not how it works.
Well, I mean, if you everybody that's already in their pride closets can stay there, but if you just want us to talk about business, the WWE is a business, and if the business is slow, you cut overhead to increase profit to keep your business open.
Yeah, there's two reasons why you cut staff. One, to streamline the company to try and maximize profits, like what you were saying, to keep the company afloat. The other reason, you streamline the company to make the company more attractive to buyers.
Yeah.
If you're already turning over record profits, you're not cutting people from the company to maximize profits at that point because you don't need to. At that point, you're streamlining the company to make it more
Wait a
appealing
second.
to a buyer.
But even if I'm got 50,000 people outside waiting to get into my 50,000 seat sold out arena every night of the week, and they're printing my face on the $100 bill now because I'm making so much money. If I want to cut a bunch of employees to make more money, then I'm going to do that. And if you don't like it, go somewhere else.
No, either way, man, the people that are making these comments, it's mind boggling. I mean, you watch these wrestling YouTube channels, it's like, do you people even know how business works?
No, they don't.
No.
They know how business feels like it should work.
Hmm.
You should be nice to people.
Yeah. And when you get the same thing in the comment section on the tech channels, where people are bitching that the companies are just intentionally screwing people with when it comes to video cards, and they should be able to make as many video cards as they need on the market, not realizing exactly how global shortages work.
No, dude, John Smith's widget company that makes the video cards doesn't care about any of that. They care about maximizing profit
Hmm.
in the most streamlined way.
Yeah.
And if they only have capacity to make 100,000 microchips a year, just because you want 110,000, well, too bad, Joni.
Yeah.
That's just tough. That's not how the world works. I'm not
Right.
going to build another factory because you're sitting at your house
Well, they're
crying because you can't build a computer.
yeah, the companies that make the silicon are trying to build new factories. And again, we talked about this before. No matter how much Squib may not like the notion that he thinks that all these factories should only cost $1 million, like because they do in the automobile industry, these factories for these silicon chips cost a minimum $1 billion to build one, and it takes a minimum of 3 to 5 years to complete it.
Plus, you got to find a place to build one now. Because even down in Texas, where only America exists, you're going to run into a whole bunch of people who don't want you digging up this hole over here to put a factory down. Life, the reality is what you have to deal with. And it's not the microchips company's problem. If somebody else wants to open a microchip company, go ahead. We're making 100,000 a day, and that's all we can make, unless
Yeah.
we build two more factories. I don't feel like building two more factories. I like making 100,000 a day. All my employees are happy. All my employees come to work every day with a smile on their face and a clean uniform. We're doing things fine over here. Leave us alone. You want microchips? Go build your own factory. Or okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to double the price of since you care so much about my employees and all this other kind of feelings business. I'm going to double the price on my microchips now. So I'll still make 100,000, but they're going to cost you twice as much because I'll fish off that money to my employees, and all those people will shut up real quick.
No, they won't. No, they won't.
Well, no,
They
they'll just
already don't get the
they'll complain
concept.
about the price of the microchips.
They'll complain about it. They'll complain about the availability. They'll complain about the price. Trust me on this one. They they already know that there were the reasons why there is a shortage. You had a major drought in Taiwan, which is the major production center for these things. The world's largest silicon die manufacturing company is in Taiwan, and they had a major drought. You had the global lockdowns for COVID, which were absolutely nonsensical. They were killing business. And you have the issues with China right now, which is where a lot of these cards are finally, the finishing touches on them are made and stuff. You have the shipping issue where you've got boats sitting off Los Angeles that can't dock. You have runaway inflation. You have supply and demand that is so exponentially out of whack. You have the mining craze right now where the cryptocurrencies, which has been at a historic high. All this combines for a video card that should cost $600, costing you $1,200 if you can even find one of the damn things. And these people don't understand how this works. They simply want to blame NVIDIA or AMD. It's their fault. No, it's really not.
You start looking for a whole bunch of other stuff that the Canadian truckers decide never to leave.
Well, if Gavin Newsom wouldn't have caused all the truckers in California to get laid off from work, they're short 90,000 truckers in California alone because of Gavin Newsom's policies.
They did that on purpose too.
Yeah. No doubt.
And people still vote his ass in.
Yeah. Somehow he still won the recall.
I do think Larry Elder went out like a chump though. When those people attacked his him walking down the street and they just took it. That made Larry Elder look really weak. I mean, he didn't have. Obviously, you don't beat the crap out of a protester throwing stuff at you, but they look pretty weak.
Yeah, he was in a real catch-22 in that situation.
I like Larry Elder. I think he's an alright dude. He'd make a politician. I mean, he's pretty close to a politician now. So
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the situation that he was put in that situation, somebody wearing the best part is it was somebody in a gorilla mask throwing a banana at him, calling him a racist. Did they not see the irony there?
they just let it go. They took the high road. They didn't stoop to their level. They should have blasted. He should have been protesting with every black person they could get for a week about the racism of the little Antifa chick in the monkey suit.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't. MKJ says he didn't think he saw it.
That's what I mean. His team, like the
Yeah.
people that were involved.
Yeah, the security team in that, yeah.
They went out like a bunch of chumps. All that says to me, because I'm the real dude that's not going to have a mask on or throw an egg or whatever he threw, I'm going to do something real to you. That means you're gonna stand there and take it.
Well, it was actually a female that was throwing the banana at him. Yeah, it was
Or
a
even worse, even worse. I see some
yeah,
little pink-haired bitch just chump you,
yeah.
and I'm a real man standing over here about to do something to you. Then that's green light. You're green lit.
hmm Yeah, it's like people with the if you remember, we're not going to remember because it didn't happen in our lifetime. But historically, we know the history of what happened at Kent State, right? Where they had the idiots that took over the building protesting Vietnam, and the governor sending the National Guard. So what do? They throw rocks at the National Guard. What did the National Guard do? They shot them.
Just look at Chaz. They let them little pink-haired hippies take over that park, and then some real thugs moved in and started whacking people and pimping out all the girls.
hmm
Because you let those little weak people get away with it, then the real gangsters are gonna move in and do some stuff.
Oh yeah. Imagine if Larry Elder's security would have responded the way the National Guard did back at Kent State when those idiots were throwing rocks at him. Yeah,
If
by
they'd
the
have
way,
did, if they'd have did anything except for exactly what they did, Rachel Maddow would have probably passed out on air.
oh yeah. And by the way, I think the National Guard acted completely and totally appropriately at Kent State. Those little hippies got exactly what they were asking for.
Remember when that old dude was knocked over by the cops and kind of stepped on by a few of them before they finally helped him up? And everybody's like, I can't believe that. He's just standing there. Oh my God, why you hurt him? And I said, well, don't go to a riot and you won't get attacked by cops.
hmm
You know?
That's pretty much the extent of it. Yeah.
And come to find out 10 seconds later, that dude wasn't just peacefully standing there either. He was a big troublemaker. And I hate the cops too. But I'm glad that those cops knocked him on his face.
Chris from the 740's out there now. Evening, Chris. And it goes back. Look at what happened with Nick Sandman and those kids with that Indian with the drum getting in his face, and everybody making out that he was the aggressor. No, it was the Indian that was the aggressor after the kids had already been ridiculed by the black Hebrew Israelites that were standing there.
You would have to agree that just standing there was pretty aggressive.
Uh huh.
I'm glad he sued those people and got a whole bunch of money.
He didn't get a whole bunch of anything. No,
His lawyer stole it from him, but still.
well, it's not that. I mean, a lot those were settlements. None of those were actual court awarded judgments. He didn't get anywhere near as much as what people think he did.
Still, I mean, I'd take it.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying I wouldn't take the money he got. I'm just saying that people are overblowing the amounts because they think he won everything he sued for, and that's just not the case.
It'd have been foolish to press on. I mean, it'd taken 10 years to go through some of that kind of stuff. All the money CNN's got and all the money, what was it, Washington Post or MSNBC that he sued? I can't remember.
Yeah, he sued CNN.
Hey, I heard somewhere along the line they said that Antifa's coming to you to all the towns in America. These
Yeah,
goddamn rednecks around here getting a little tired of waiting on their asses.
yeah, right. The one time we had anything like that try and happen, Black Lives Matter was trying to come down from Maryland to protest here. They got met at the bridge, turned around, got back on their bus, and left.
Yeah, we had a few of those. Well, Black Lives Matter go down through cabins, like five of them,
hmm
and everybody lined up on the street, and all of them were packing.
Yeah. Yeah, they got Kingpin knows the bridge I'm talking about because he's driven across it. That goes right between the town I live in and Maryland. They got met halfway across that bridge by the sheriff's department and a bunch of residents of this town. They turned around, got back on their bus, and left.
Baltimore City's, I'm going to just make up a number out, so don't quote me on it, 90% black. And the only time Black Lives Matter would ever come around here is when the mayor invites him over, or the governor, Larry Hogan, invites him to come burn Baltimore City down like they did with the Freddie Gray thing. But I guarantee right now, 10:30, on a Saturday night, there's not a single solitary Black Lives Matter person anywhere around Baltimore City. They, that's the one good thing about Baltimore is no large gangs can take over. The problem is there's 50 trillion small gangs. You never know which one's on which and where you're at and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of people get shot for that kind of stuff. But like the Bloods and the Crips and MS-13, nobody wants to come around and try that around here.
How the hell did we get talking about gangs and shit?
Well, we're talking about WWE, and then we started talking about the media because
Oh,
Turner Broadcasting, and they're all gangsters.
mm, well, Turner Broadcasting CNN. So I mean, you know, or I should say CNN Turner Broadcasting. Either way,
You see, I don't know. I think CNN is more like, remember the movie Blade, the police officer that was trailing blood around and Blade busted his face all up for him, and he was like real weak and stupid, like a wannabe. That's what I think CNN is. Is like the little dog jumping around, going, "What are we gonna do today, Spike? Hey, Spike! Hey, Spike!"
yeah, but at the end, that little dog was tougher than Spike.
Yeah, but that was also a cartoon. And then again, I guess so is CNN. So
Speaking of CNN, does anyone actually think Brian Stelter is straight? Seriously.
now Brian Stelter is like a non-binary type of person.
I'd be honest, I don't watch CNN.
Uh, uh, just look up Brian Stelter one time. You'll see exactly what Kingpin and I are talking about.
Better yet, look up Mark Dice and watch one of Mark Dice's videos about Brian Stelter, and you'll enjoy yourself while you're watching it.
Well, Steven Crowder's got some good takes on Brian Stelter too. I haven't seen any of his. But yeah, it's the guy insists that he's married and stuff, and the people were like, I'm not so sure about that, and that he's got a wife and stuff, and he just keeps her out of everything because he wants to. Yeah, dude, nobody's buying it. Nobody's buying it.
He'll say he's like the Ron Burgundy. All of them are like Ron Burgundy. They will say absolutely anything that they're told to say.
That's one reason why I don't watch it.
Yeah, nobody else does either.
Yeah, yeah. CNN's having their ratings just keep going down and down and down and down and down. NXT's ratings have been going down, and they still have higher ratings than what CNN does in their primetime lineup. If you think I'm joking, look at the look it up. Look at the numbers for WWE NXT on USA Network at 8 p.m. on Tuesday evenings, and look at CNN's primetime lineup for that same time period. And CNN is losing to NXT, and NXT's ratings are going down.
I'd like to see Chris Cuomo come out and be the next wrestler.
Oh my god, he'd get his ass kicked so bad if he even tried. He wouldn't make it out of goddamn training. Looking Fredo. That could be his wrestling name. He could be Fredo.
Hey, that's racist to my people.
Uh-huh. He could be Fredo when he come out with wearing a bunch of noodles and white sauce. Yeah, that's it. He'd be Alfredo.
Better. It'd be better if he came out wearing like some fishing gear.
His last name's not Gorton. Just the Gorton's fisherman. No, I'm not. That's not that. He, he could come out as Don Lemon's boyfriend.
I thought we already knew about that.
Oh, yeah, I know. But he's never officially said so. But seriously, uh, does anybody believe that Chris Cuomo is the only straight guy that CNN had on their primetime lineup, or do you think he was just in the closet and not saying anything? Because you had Don Lemon, him, and Anderson Cooper, CNN's primetime lineup.
I think they're all pedophile, rapists, and lizard people. So I think they're all scumbags. What's up, Patriot?
I think all of them are in the closet. Hey, Patriot, how you doing?
Well, not all of them, because Anderson Cooper and Don Lemon had both are both openly gay.
Yeah, but they're not openly pedophile, sexual harassment.
Well, I mean, what's going
Scumbags.
on over at CNN right now, they very well may be. How many producers
Not
now have
open.
been caught?
Project Veritas hasn't proved it on them yet.
How many CNN producers have been caught though?
Too recently.
Yeah, it's funny. Right after those people that Maxwell had records on and stuff lost the ability to keep that anonymous. Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Well, Cuomo said he was going to go out with a bang. Like he said, he's not going to take this line down because they didn't want to pay him his severance pay or whatever.
Mhm.
So he said he was going to start shaking things up a bit.
Yeah, he knows where the skeletons are hidden, in what closets they're in.
Oh, hell, I think he might get Clinton.
James O'Keefe. James O'Keefe has got like 2 months worth of CNN board meetings on record, like on recorded, and he only played 30 seconds of them. You know, so there's a ton of stuff that we don't know about CNN yet.
Hmm. But it's just funny that that goes down the Ghislaine Maxwell trial where the anonymous people lost and their identities are going to be revealed. The Chris Cuomo thing, and all of a sudden you see producers at CNN getting busted for child pornography and shit. Funny how that all came to pass, all around the same time period. That's all I'm saying. And somehow Jeffrey Tubin still has a job.
The clip, everybody on YouTube's pretty much done a video about it, but the clip when he's standing there talking to Allison Camerata, his first day back.
Hmm.
Oh man,
Hmm.
wow.
Yeah. Tell me how this guy has a job still. Please, somebody. Why are we still employing this guy?
I guess it ain't who you know, it's who you blow.
Or in his case, who you jerk off in front of.
Wow. Look,
How
Jeffrey Tubin. Jeffrey Tubin's probably pretty well paid. Probably lives a fairly comfortable life, and I'd imagine that he lives in like a studio apartment or something like that. He's probably got a room for an office, so he's not like sitting on his coffee table doing a Zoom meeting or whatever.
Hmm.
10 minutes to wait. 10 minutes and the meeting's over. You could have
Hmm.
gone, did that thing, and then brushed your teeth and went to the office or whatever you do for the rest of the day as a fake news journalist. Uh, he did it while he was on the Zoom
Hmm.
because that was feeding that
Oh yeah,
deviant. He had
fetish
a taste
is
for
yeah,
being deviant, and that was what was going to feed it, was jerking off during the meeting.
yeah. He is an exhibition. He has an exhibitionist fetish, and he
I don't
just
think he
did it
turned.
at
I
the
don't
wrong
think he
time.
had the camera more on purpose. I don't
Yeah.
think he was whacking off for the camera. I think he legitimately thought the camera was turned off, and while the boss was sitting there telling him, pick up my suit from the dry cleaners, he was whacking off.
Oh, I wouldn't be at least be surprised if he knew darn well the camera was on. It's just his defense was he didn't know the camera was on. What difference does it make if you know the camera's on or not? What idiot sits there in a live Zoom call whether they think the camera's on them or not, whacking off? No, Buck. No, stop, stop, stop.
That's what
Bad Buck.
that's the deviant behavior that he was satisfying, and I don't think he. If you got the camera on during a Zoom meeting, there's a real good chance you're going to get fired. It's a real good chance that you're going to get sued by somebody that was watching, because some woman's probably on the Zoom call. She's going to sue the crap out of you, and or sue the company, which then it's going to be a big old mess. If you're thinking a normal company, obviously this is CNN, so it's not normal, but the camera off, you can still be that exhibitionist, I guess you could say, and feed that deviant psychopathic behavior.
Hmm. That's probably why they didn't fire him. Oh, he's sick. We need to send him to get help, not fire him.
And I'm like, Buck, I wonder what he did. Like, I wonder what he had to do or agree to or say to keep his job. Yeah, think about it. There's a million different people out there that will do exactly what they're told when that camera turns on and say whatever the teleprompter says for them to say and feel however they want to. Jeffrey Tubin's nothing special. So he had to have done some type of deal with the devil.
Well, he is a lawyer. Probably were afraid he was going to sue the shit out of him if they fired him because he's sick. It's not his fault. So they wrongfully terminated him because they for his mental illness that he has. Guarantee you something along those lines.
Yeah, that's wild. I never thought about that. Patriot said, I wonder who he was thinking about in the
Yeah, I
Zoom.
was about to bring that up too. You beat me to it.
Nasty.
Yeah. No, probably Camerata. I mean, did the interview back and everything the way he was talking to her. And she might be the one he has the hots for.
That might have been his punishment. Like, that might be a secret around the office that, he's got pictures of Camerata all over his house. So he had to face her live on TV and sit there and squirm like a little pig.
Hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. Hold on, I gotta take care of a cat that's being stupid. As soon as I stood up, he ran. So
Guess he wasn't being so stupid after all.
no, no, he was being stupid. He just was like, "Oh shit, I'm in trouble." He took off running.
All right, boys, I gotta go. I gotta work in the morning.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to wrap this up anyway. So, yeah, anything you want to say before we get out of here? I mean, we've been going for almost an hour and a half now.
Good times. Thanks for hanging out with us, Buck. Appreciate Patriot, MK Chris, everybody that was out there. I don't know if Fiend Dog showed up tonight or not.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing him. He was, I know he was over on a G23 show earlier watching. What about you, Buck?
Thanks for the invite. It's always great hanging out with y'all. And I'll see y'all later.
Yep. And just a reminder, next week there will be no wrestling show or This Week Unloaded because I will be out of town. We will be in Harrisburg for the Great American Outdoor Show. So there will be a 1 week hiatus before we come back. So yeah, just to give you all a heads up on that front. And there will, in the next couple of weeks after that, be some content that'll be coming out on probably on YouTube, definitely on Instagram with pictures and stuff. So be looking for that as well on the Instagram channel, which you can find the name of the Instagram channel down below in the comment section, as well as the Rumble channel. If you, for some reason, YouTube decides they want to take down this or the other, before they do that, if it gets transferred over Rumble, you may be able to find it over there because I have my Rumble account set up where it automatically syncs up with my YouTube account, and anything I upload on YouTube goes directly over there. So if you can't find the show here, look over there. If for some reason YouTube decides they want to give me a strike or something, I will attempt to do the show over on Rumble. So make sure you're subscribed over on Rumble as well as here. Again, the link to the Rumble channel is in the video description down below. And I would say until next week, but again, I'm not going to have the show next week. So I think I'll probably end up doing Gary's show on Friday for sure because we're not leaving until Saturday afternoon. So yeah, probably be the next time or last time before the show that I'll see anybody. So yeah, who knows what happens during the course of the week, what shows get invited to, and what ones I'll be able to be on and whatnot. So, yep. Yeah, but it's going to be 2 weeks before you see us here on this show. So, if I can go live from the Great American Outdoor Show, I may, like if we're eating lunch or something, I may. Well, I don't have the. Well, we'll see what happens. I know last time we went, which is 2020, which is the last of any of these kind of trade shows before they shut everything down. I did Gary's Sunday morning show from the Great American Outdoor Show for a little bit. So if I may end up doing that this year again. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, we'll catch y'all later on, some point this week on somebody's channel, and definitely back here in 2 weeks. So until then, have a good night, everybody, and we will leave you with this.
You guys are probably really scared right now, and I understand that completely. But I get the better of the deal, and even though it's 3 versus 2, you guys are outnumbered because we're better than you guys. Yeah, we are. We're legends in our own mind compared to you guys. Even though you guys got the egos, we have got the wrestling skill. And this guy right here, we're the Space Cowboys.